Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Total Biscuit of the WoW podcast, Blue Please on CynicalBrit.com. You know that already because that's what you're listening to, but I just wanted to remind you because I know you've got short attention spans. That's why I cut this show up into nice 15-minute chunks. Nice and simple, nothing too complicated. I'm bringing somebody on the show who is significantly more polite than I am, so it's to try and balance the cynicism a bit. It's to continue a series that had a bit of a false start, it must have been a couple of months ago now. I brought on the lead blogger of the Pink Pigtail Inn, and we had a great conversation about various things community-related, and I said I wanted to bring on more good people from the WoW community. Unfortunately, they seem to be a bit few and far between, but I managed to track one down, and I forced her to come into the studio, most likely against her will. Ladies and gentlemen, of WrestlerKin.com, may I present to you Lasana.
Hi, guys.
There you go. Right, so you're here for two reasons. I have an ulterior motive. Now, the first of which is to talk a little bit about Restokin, what you do within the community, your WoW stuff and all that good stuff. However, I'm useless at talent. I have no idea about any other talents other than Mage. So what I'm going to do with my interviewees over the next few months is bring on people that know what they're talking about, and they can make me look better.
And I spend pretty much all my free time staring at talent trees.
Fantastic. You're perfect for this show. So we're going to have you on to talk a little bit about druids.
Yeah,
I hear you play druids. Yeah?
Yeah, I play druids.
Excellent.
I have a couple druids. I have about 4 different druids I'm playing with on the beta server. That's how much I like druids.
Wait, 4 druids?
To have backup druids in case one of them gets broken.
I like that. Backup druids. That's high quality stuff right there.
Yeah. Well, in order to be able to see what all the different colors of the different cat and bear forms are, you're supposed to be able to use the barbershop to see all the colors. But the barbershop's broken, so I had to level up a couple different druids to level 10 or 15 to see the different colors that you got before they had lots of pictures of them online.
That's impressive dedication. So tell me a little bit about Restokin.com. How did that get started?
I actually started as a forum guide writer on the dredges of the actual official WoW forums, and I have 2 stickies up there first. So at some point, the developers had decided to threaten to take away the Druid forums, and I was like, well, where am I going to put my guides? So my boyfriend at the time had the wonderful idea of, let's just make you a blog, and then you can put all your guides on the blog, and regardless of whatever the developers decide to do the forums, you always have sort of everything in one place. And so we started it about a year and a couple months ago, maybe a year and a half at this point. To have a central place for my guides, and then it allowed me to write really long forum posts with better formatting and embedded links and pictures
links
and
colors.
Things
like that. It's fancy, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, it's really fancy.
Yeah, I remember writing the FAQ for the EU forums, and it was infuriating. It's like, I need words. Give me words, and links would be nice as well. But, well, there you go. Kudos for surviving those forums long enough to post anything of merit.
Yeah, and I managed to actually get a following from the forums that followed me to my blog when that started. So
awesome and slightly creepy. So you keep running. So you keep running the blog, and you're putting out mostly Druid guides.
Mostly Druid stuff. Sometimes I dabble in other classes, but I'm really horrible at playing things besides Druid, so I tend to just stick to what I know.
Excellent. I can absolutely relate to that. So, why exactly do you keep producing this content? What's your motivation?
I actually really enjoy helping new people. So my main guide is a leveling guide where I go through all of the talents for new druids who are like, oh my god, there's these talent trees, I have no idea what to do with them. They come and they look at my leveling guide, and suddenly all they have to do is follow my list of, take this at level 10, take this at level 20. Here's what your talent tree looks like at level 30. So that's what I really got started with. And as I got sort of more experienced, I also branched out into a healing guide that I started around 3.1 or something like that started to take off. But mostly when people think of Lasana, they think of my leveling guide and starting to help newbies learn the world of Warcraft as a
Excellent.
druid.
So your aim is to make people less terrible then?
Yeah, pretty much. I like
Fantastic.
helping people to learn the game.
Excellent.
And
I like that. That's a good
I make
philosophy.
up for the lack of a help manual and how to figure out how to deal with a class that basically has 4 different ways you can play it, and it's really easy to do it wrong, because I ran into like a level 25 druid with a caster balance spec wearing a mix of melee and caster gear using cat form, which none of their gear or talents was actually set up to be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally understand. I've met loads of people that play druids wrong. I mean, some of them even get moonkin. It's disgusting. It really is. It's horrible.
Moonkin's actually getting better. No, the reason why my site's called Restokin was the first thing I tried to figure out how to do when Moonkin form came out was I kept trying to figure out how to heal with Moonkin form in my talent spec. And I worked really hard at having really awful looking talent specs that I made work anyway. By sort of creative use of game mechanics. So I worked really hard to make Moonkin not suck.
I'm useful in a raid now. Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've actually gotten to play as Moonkin after all my years of trying to get Moonkin to be raid viable. So I'm sort of the barometer of whether or not Moonkin's working, because when I have to heal full time, it means Moonkin's broken. So apparently right now, Moonkin's okay.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Right, so how long have you been playing WoW exactly? And have you always played a druid, or was that something you came onto later?
Lysana is my first character that I started about 2 weeks after the game first came out, and it's been my main character except for a 6-month stint during Burning Crusade where Shaman healing was so powerful I got frustrated and re-leveled up a Shaman to raid with because I didn't like Life Bloom and the tree form with the snare on it and all the mechanics, and my meter numbers sucked. And so I figured out I could start a Shaman and do more healing with that than I did with my better geared druid.
Indeed, it's very, very important to be the top of the healing meters. In fact, I'd say that's the most important thing.
Well, I was having a hard time getting into a guild and being somewhere that I was happy with, and at that point I couldn't play Moonkin regardless, so I leveled up the Shaman to heal with, and I had my little Moonkin toy on the side, and at that point I was probably beta testing for Wrath of the Lich King and didn't care anyway. So other than my 6-month stint as a Shaman, I've pretty much always had my druid, and I've always had my focus on druids.
Yeah, I recall not caring at the end of TBC. In fact, that seems to be an expansion thing in general. I'm certainly not caring right now.
Right. Well, once sort of alpha and beta testing starts, I only care just enough on the live servers to keep my account running and keep things going. And, the majority of my focus shifts to beta. So everyone's like, OMG, you don't have hard mode Lich King down. I was like, I don't really care. I'm just going in with my guild that's sort of mediocre and having fun. And, the people I like playing with, so I'll log in. And, my mom's in my guild and stuff. She's one of my healers. And, we just go and have fun. And on my spare time, I go and play on beta. She's actually more hardcore than me. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's funny how that goes down, isn't it? Okay, so let's have a look at these talents. You've got a few things to say about the current state of Cataclysm Druid talents, so why don't you just go on at it? I'm just going to sit here and look like I know what I'm talking about. Right.
At this point, Druids are pretty much unfinished and totally broken. Right now on the beta server, I cannot actually learn Moonkin form, Typhoon. Mingle is just a range debuff that does no damage or something ridiculous like that.
I did notice that. I heard about it. I just leveled up a druid to level 10 to replace, because hunters are broken right now as well.
Right.
Your pet keeps disappearing and you can't get it back. So because the starting zone's balanced around you having a pet, the mobs are almost impossible to kill, and focus means you can't keep spamming conch shot or anything like that. So I leveled up a druid instead, and people will say, don't get mangle because it's terrible and it doesn't work. Okay, I'll go balance and try that new ability, which is actually kind of neat.
Star Surge is actually pretty awesome. People keep misunderstanding what it is. Basically, it is a giant ball of I will kill you, which happens to have other effects on it too.
Yeah, it's a druid pyroblast, but with a short cooldown. Actually, not a short cooldown. It's a short cast time, a 15-second cooldown on it currently.
Right. It's the same cast time as Wrath, but probably doubles the damage on. And it hits like a truck, and then it has a knockdown that sort of basically stuns the whatever you're targeting for a second or two, which is kind of just a neat bonus effect for PvP mostly, I think.
Yeah, well, it's nice visually as well. It's like I've just thrown a huge ball of death at you. Half of your health went off. I think that might have knocked you off your feet.
Yeah, and it ends up kind of feeling like the green fire that warlocks always wanted. Sorry,
Yeah,
warlocks,
yeah, it
they gave
does.
it to druids instead.
Yeah, the first thing I thought is like, this is some kind of gigantic chaos bowl, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
great stuff, actually. I'm really enjoying that. I'm looking forward to showing that off on the video this evening. Yeah, so what else is wrong with the talents exactly?
Well, they're not finished. Blizzard's kind of admitted that druids are sort of behind in development, mostly because we're such a big pain in the neck to develop. Because we basically have 4 specs crammed into 3 trees, and they never really know what to do with us. They'll do things like, no, Eclipse will never have charges, and then the latest build of the beta server basically has charges, only they don't call them charges.
Yeah, I swear
things
Eclipse
like
is just one gigantic troll on everyone. It's like, it doesn't do anything. You've just got this little meter that goes backwards and forwards for comic effect. I've been trying to figure it out. What is Eclipse supposed to do exactly?
Eclipse is supposed to give you basically a 20% damage buff for the magic school you haven't been using recently. So you're going to use Wrath, which is a nature spell, and you're going to go Wrath, and then Eclipse pops up, and then you're supposed to go Starfire, and it goes back down the meter, and then you get Eclipse pops up, and you go Wrath, and it goes back and forth
so
across
you're telling
there.
me you get to spam not 1 but 2 abilities, right?
Yeah, you get to take turns spamming the different abilities, and somewhere in there, maybe we use our other spells if we feel like it. Maybe.
That sounds fantastic. What a wonderful combat system we have going on here.
Yeah. But they fixed it this time because now if you have to move, you won't just waste the whole proc. You get to just use it a little bit later. So they fixed what was the most broken about it. But right now, because druids are totally, completely broken, it doesn't give you the 20% plus damage buff that it's actually supposed to give you.
Oh, there you go.
So when it's functional, it'll be a pretty good ability, I think. Hopefully.
Excellent.
Crossing my fingers.
Let's talk a little bit about the synergy of the trees, because the whole point of this change, where they take them down to 31 points and apparently they've cut a third of the talents out completely, is to promote proper synergy and completely redesign the talents from the ground up. Now, I know these are in an incomplete state and they're going to be subject to change, but what would you say needs to be done to make each tree work well?
Well, the very first thing I did when I saw these talent trees was I started redesigning the first basically 2 tiers, because you're going to get 10 talent points that you can spend in the other trees. And what Blizzard forgot to do with the druid trees is to have 10 points you could actually spend in other trees. So right now, it's a little bit hard to see. For ferals, you can pretty much just put most of your points in feral, maybe 3 to 5 points in resto, but past that, it's mostly useless. And resto can't even put anything worthwhile in the first 2 tiers of their tree in the first place. You spend 10 talent points and all you get is a bonus to rejuvenation. Like, was it 15, 16, 17, 18, like 19 or 20% to your rejuvenation is all you get out of your 10 points you put in the talent tree. Correct.
Yeah, it's not great, is it? I mean, if we're looking at, say, the first tier of feral, and I suppose you might splash on feral swiftness, but what are you going to do?
They forgot to put bear talents in there.
Yeah, there's that as well.
Well, I guess you get dodge from feral swiftness. So you get some dodge, and you get to reduce your rage and energy costs on stuff. And I don't really know why predatory strikes is that early. I guess so you can shift out and heal, but then you can't get Furor, so when you shift back into cat and bear form, you won't have any energy or rage. So Furor needs to get moved back into the feral tree for predatory strikes to actually be useful at that level.
Indeed, it doesn't seem to be particularly well thought out thus far, at any rate.
No, what it kind of looks like was they took the big trees and they're like, all right, we have to put out a build. What should we do? All right, let's just cut out some random talents. These look like ones that we can randomly cut out, and then we're just going to smoosh them together and put out a talent tree. And we'll get back to it later. Sorry, druids. We'll get back to you later. Maybe,
we want to make each individual
like
talent more powerful. What are we going to do? Okay, we've got all these talents right here, so which one can we put together that serve no practical purpose by being put together? Well, we'll throw this one in here, there we go. These don't relate to each other in any way, shape, or form, but you can have it anyway.
Right. Well, these are cat things, so we're going to put them in the same talent. And these are bear things, so we're going to put them in the same talent. And then we're going to make some talents that overlap between bear and cat, because we can't fit that many talents in that little tree. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not ideal, is it? I'm just looking actually at tier 4 of feral right now, and I'm seeing it's like, you need to really just take all of that, don't you?
Well, Well, I think what you're supposed to do is put more talents in the earlier totally useless things to move up to the higher totally useless things.
Just looking at that doesn't seem to make any sense. Half of this stuff is useless in either bear or cat. I don't know if maybe they expect you to play both, but if they do, then I don't think they've been playing their game for the last 6 years.
Well, the people who just want to have one feral spec are really excited about the version of the talent trees that are out now. But what I actually expect is basically what they did to paladins. They put out kind of one thing and they're like, just kidding, we're giving you a whole new resource system or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that sort of dramatic thing to happen to druids without the new resource system. What I'm hoping is that they take these talent trees and vastly improve them, so we get a new build and go, wow, that's what these new talent trees are supposed to look like. I suddenly have a functional character.
Yes, I should certainly hope so on that one. We're all hoping for that for our characters. I know Warriors just got massive changes in the latest beta build. Paladins did. Warlocks got some big stuff as well. It scared me. I was running around as a druid in the Worgen area, and suddenly I see this Felguard. Like, what's that doing in a starting area? Oh, right. You get that now. It's neat, though. I like where they're going with it. I just think they've got to put a massive amount of work in order to get to where their vision is.
Right, and at this point, pretty much every restoration druid I've talked to is unhappy with sort of the current development of restoration druids, because Blizzard seems to be totally lost and confused on what they want us to actually do, and the talent tree they put out is totally unhelpful in terms of figuring out what it is we're supposed to be doing, as in they just don't have healing talents in the resto tree in any sufficient number that makes any sense, and the ones that they do have in there are totally redundant. Because you spend, 2 talents just improve rejuvenation, and then you have another one that boosts your heal over time spells, and then Genesis on the first tier of balance improves your heal over time spells. And so we have a bunch of really passive, unhelpful boosts to our heal over time spells that don't actually do anything. And I thought that was what they were trying to get rid of.
It seems to me what they're trying to do with it is, since they're locking you in on 31 and they're looking for maybe a maximum of 40 or 41 total across 85 levels, then they're looking to put in the first couple of tiers some splash talents that you could take. So, say, Genesis, you're going to take if you're building a resto, and you're just going to splash in that. But the problem that I've got with that is that because you've put that there in the first tier, you've basically chosen the balanced druid's first talents for him. And it doesn't give you all that much choice and variety overall as to what you do with your spec.
Right. That's part of the problem they have to work out. They have to figure out how to make those points attractive for both, the main spec and the off spec, which means they're going to have, large blocks of text that says increases your resto stuff by blah, your feral stuff by blah, and your balance stuff by blah. And you're just going to put points in those talents. Which I think is fine. It's what Blessing of the Grove does. It picks an ability for each of the specs and has you put points in it. Assuming you actually care about the talent or the ability they put on the talent. Which hopefully you should.
Fair enough. Fantastic. Right, well, I suddenly feel like I can play a druid, and I will prove that is not the case in a future video. So, thank you very much for coming on the show today, Lysana, and if people want to check out your guides and your website, where do they go?
Restokin.com. Resto is in Restoration Druid, and kin as in Moonkin, but mushed together.
Mushed together, just like these talents. Thank you very much for coming on the show, and I will be right back after this break, folks. You listen to Blue Please here on CynicalBrit.com with myself, Toll Biscuit. Enjoy.